taken from the Deborah Company, Becoming a Woman Who Makes a Difference. Throughout history, there have been numerous women, many of whom stood alone, who have made a difference in great times of difficulty. Let's get to know one of them now. Vibia Perpetua. The year was 203. The Roman Emperor Septimus Severus had issued an edict prohibiting his subjects from converting to Christianity. As a result, a great persecution had swept Europe and northern Africa, finally reaching the city of Carthage. Many believers in Christ were being imprisoned, tried, and executed for their faith. One of these martyrs was a young noblewoman named Vibia Perpetua, who wrote and recorded much of her process leading to martyrdom, inspiring future generations by her courage. Perpetua had committed herself to Christ in her early adult life. She was a young mother with an infant son when she was captured and imprisoned. Her family begged her to renounce her faith that she might escape a cruel death in the gladiators' arena, and appealed to her heart as a mother who would be leaving a nursing babe if she were to die. Yet, when she stood before the Roman procurator Hilarion, she boldly proclaimed herself to be a Christian, and with a sense of joy accepted the sentence of being thrown to the wild beasts. She thought it to be one of the highest honors to be chosen as a partaker with Christ's suffering and to die a martyr's death for her Lord and Master. Days before her execution, the Lord visited Perpetua in dreams and visions, which confirmed to her that she should suffer for Christ in death. These visions, the Lord comforted her that in her death she would be defeating the devil and would be received into the glorious arms of the Father. In one vision, she saw her victory in death. The Lord kissed her and gave her entrance through a gate called the Gate of Life. When she awoke, she said, "I understood that I should fight, not with the beast, but against the devil, but I knew that mine was the victory." On the day of her death, Perpetua walked into the amphitheater with her friend and fellow martyr Felicitas, another young woman who had just given birth. The Acts of Christian Martyrs tells us the story of that day. Perpetua went along with a shining countenance and calm step, as a beloved of God, as a wife of Christ, putting down everyone's stare by her own intense gaze. With them also was Felicitas, glad that she had safely given birth, so that now she could fight the beasts, going from one bloodbath to another, from the midwife to the gladiator, ready to wash after childbirth and a second baptism. Several Christian men were then killed as they were exposed to hungry wild animals. A wild boar, a leopard, and a bear were released on them, and they died rather quickly. Yet the courageous death of Perpetua and Felicitas was a prolonged and brutal affair. For the young woman, however, the devil had prepared a mad heifer. This was an unusual animal, but it was chosen that their sex might be matched with that of the beast. So they were stripped naked and placed in nets and then brought out into the arena. Even the crowd was horrified when they saw that one was a delicate young girl and the other was a woman fresh from childbirth, with the milk still dripping from her breasts. And so they were brought back again and dressed in unbelted tunics. First, the heifer tossed Perpetua and she fell on her back. Then, sitting up, she pulled down the tunic that was ripped along the side so that it covered her thighs, thinking more of her modesty than of her pain. Next, she asked for her pin to fasten her untidy hair, for it was not right that a martyr should die with her hair in disorder, lest she might seem to be mourning in her hour of triumph. Then she got up, and seeing that Felicitas had been crushed to the ground, she went over to her, gave her her hand, and lifted her up. Those who had survived until then were gathered in the usual spot for their throats to be cut. But the mob asked that their bodies be brought out into the open, that their eyes might be the guilty witnesses of the sword that pierced their flesh. And so the martyrs got up and went to the spot of their own accord, as the people wanted them to do. And kissing one another, they sealed their martyrdom with the ritual kiss of peace. The others took the sword in silence and without moving. Perpetua, however, had yet to taste more pain. She screamed as she was struck on the bone. Then she took the trembling hand of the young gladiator and guided it to her throat. It was as though so great a woman, feared as she was by the unclean spirit, could not be dispatched unless she herself were willing. Perpetua was a woman who made a difference in her day, as many who witnessed her death were inspired by her faith and strength in Christ. As we read of the courage and joy with which she faced death, we understand that the same God who caused her to triumph in the midst of her trying times will sustain us and give us courage to face any circumstances that now challenge us.